What's going on, guys? Seth here from Team Union Seth, here for our Week 3 Team Builder in the RPL Season 2.5. I am your coach of the Philadelphia Spearows, and this week we are going up against the Goodlettsville Goomys. So, as you can see on screen, our opponent's team, they have the Torchic, Riolu, Zorua, Pineco, Togepi, Goomy, Duskull, Tortuga, Alolan Diglett, Cottony, and Grubbin. You guys know my team by now. I didn't actually have a team builder for our last battle, so if you could not tell from last week's battle, we made a couple of transactions. We transacted Pancham for Natu, as you can see on screen, and we also got rid of Swablu for Cleffa, which we did end up bringing last week, and as you can see, we're bringing Natu this week. So, what I expect my opponent to bring? I'm expecting the Zorua, I'm expecting Pineco, I'm expecting Togepi, Goomy, Duskull, and Alolan Diglett. Now, I will say that I'm recording this after I've already completed the battle, but I'm just going off of my notes from what I had before the battle. So that is what I had predicted my opponent to bring. Now, main threats on the team. Torchic obviously has speed boost. It can be a pretty big threat. Zorua obviously can turn into different mons, so that can definitely be pretty threatening. Pineco can set up hazards. Goomy can be a pretty decent attacker. Duskull is super bulky. Tortuga can shell smash. Alolan Diglett is fast and hits pretty hard. But those are the main threatening mons that I see on my opponent's team. I think that Togepi is going to be there mainly for my Axew. But what we have in terms of the team, so the first mon on the team is Natu. Now, when I thought of bringing Natu, I was basically thinking I want to prevent my opponent from getting hazards up, or I want to basically get rid of them in one way or another. So we have our Magic Bounce Natu. We have Choice Scarf, Magic Bounce, Trick, U-Turn, Heat Wave, and Psychic. 196 HP, 116 special attack, and 196 in speed with the Naive Nature. Now, excuse me, the speed allows us to speed tie with Zorua and Cottony, and this is most likely going to be our lead. Especially if we see the Pineco. Now, it's most likely going to be a lead anyway. I can either trick something bulky, or I can U-turn out, or just get off a big hit on something if necessary. But I'm expecting my opponent to lead with the Pineco and try to start getting up hazards, or at least with the intent to try to start getting up hazards, and Natu just completely shuts that down. So that is the plan, to lead with Natu, prevent my opponent from getting up hazards, and then Heat Wave, Psychic, whatever I got to do to get off some damage, or potentially just trick it. But he would most likely switch out if he does lead Pineco against my Natu. So that is the set. We're outspeeding a potential, or we're speed tying with a potential Scarf Zorua. We outspeed the Alolan Diglett with the Scarf. So that is our Natu. Next up, we have Natasha with the Berry Juice. Natasha, our Purloin, with the Berry Juice and Prankster, Thunderwave, U-Turn, Knockoff, and Encore. 28 in HP, 196 in attack, 228 in speed with the Adamant Nature. Now, Natasha's main job is, it outspeeds Torchic for one before it gets the boost. It outspeeds with that 16 speed. Its main job is to spread Thunderwave to a few of the main threats on the team, as well as knock off my opponent's mons. Now, the knockoff is tremendous for things like the Duskull, potentially for a Diglett knocking off a Life Orb or a Focus Sash, and it's just overall really good for the team to get rid of Eviolites or any items like that. So knockoff is really good, spreading Thunder Waves is really good, and then I can potentially Encore my opponent into a setup move, or potentially protect on Torchic. So that's kind of there just in case I need it, and then obviously U-Turn is there for momentum. No real specific reason for the Berry Juice. I only had one on the team otherwise, I believe, so I figured it was a fine item. There wasn't really anything specific that I needed, so we just went with the Berry Juice. Next up, we have Korg, our Rhyhorn, with the Eviolite and Reckless, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Rock Blast, and Poison Jab. 196 HP, 156 attack, 156 defense with the Impish Nature. This is actually a Smogon set for LC Rhyhorn, and I thought it fit pretty well for what I wanted to do with this mon. Now, obviously, Rocks, super important. That is mainly why this thing is here. Rocks are great against the Torchic, the Pineco, and just overall chipping down my opponent's team. This is also my main Torchic check. Whether it's offensive, especially, or physically, this thing can still check it pretty decently with the Eviolite and one-hit KO it with an Earthquake. It is also a check to Alolan Diglett. Now, Ironhead is going to do a lot. Ironhead is going to do a lot to me. Especially if he has like the Steelium Z or goes Fightinium Z, something like that. So Ironhead's going to do a lot. However, Earthquake kills back. So if I'm thinking that I want to let my Rhyhorn get weakened to fire off an Earthquake and get rid of the Alolan Diglett, then so be it. That's what I'll end up doing. But that's just something I need to determine what I want to do in-game and then do it from there. So the next mon we have is our Jane, the Marini, with Eviolite and Regenerator, Toxic Spikes, Recover, Haze, and Poison Jab. 196 HP, 12 in attack, 100 in defense, and 180 in special defense with the Careful Nature. Marini's main job is to be a check to Goomy, and it's also a really good defensive pivot in general. So it's meant to prevent my opponent from potentially setting up, potentially haze a Torchic, or if Duskull gets up like, I don't know, Calm Minds or Curses or something. I can't curse, but Calm Minds, something like that. Prevent the Tortuga from Shell Smashing, or at least come in and take a hit from there. And if I can, get up some Toxic Spikes. Now, I decided to go with Poison Jab over Scald. Just because, one, Marini's attack is higher, and two, Poison Jab is just better for the team. It helps me out with Togepi, which is the main reason I went for it, and Scald doesn't really do anything in particular besides hitting, like, Torchic, and Diglett, I guess. But I'm not keeping this thing in on a Diglett, and this thing handles Torchic plenty fine anyway, so Scald was not really necessary, and I just thought Poison Jab fit a little bit better. So next up on the team, we have Thor, our Munchlax, with the Berry Juice and Thick Fat, Facade, Earthquake, Pursuit, and Recycle, 236 in attack, 36 in defense, 236 in special defense, with an Adamant Nature. So, excuse me, this is going to be our primary wall breaker for the matchup. As you saw in our previous 4 mons, there's no real, dedicated offensive threat. It's a lot of utility and then defense, and this is our first, our real wall breaker for the game. So switching in, firing off a huge hit. If my opponent wants to Willow me with the Duskull, I have the Facade. Earthquake is there for things like Torchic, and for the Tortuga and the Diglett, as well as Pursuit is there for the Duskull if I want to go that route. And then obviously we have Recycle to recycle that Berry Juice and keep this thing alive really well. It's also a nice special check for the Goomy and for other, potential special attackers like a potentially special Torchic or the Zorua. It is just a good overall special tank for that as well. And again, this is our main counter to Duskull because I do have the Facade, so I don't mind getting burnt, and I can potentially Pursuit it if it does try to switch out. Last but not least, we have Groot, our Axew, with the Groundium Z and Mold Breaker, Dragon Dance, Dig, Poison Jab, and Dragon Claw. 68 in HP, 220 in attack, 220 in speed, and the Jolly Nature. So Z-Dig hits a few mons on my opponent's team. It hits the Torchic, it hits the Tortuga, it hits the Diglett. So it hits a few mons, plus can do a lot. It can do big damage to other mons on the team. Poison Jab is there for the Togepi, obviously, as well for the Cottony, potentially. And Dragon Claw is there for the rest of the team, as there is nothing that resists the combination of Dragon Claw plus Dig or Z-Dig. So it's mainly there for the Alolan Diglett, just so I can hit that thing pretty well. But this is our late game sweeper, so I'm not exactly game planned for this thing to set up and sweep. However, the team is prepped in such a way where if I can weaken, if the opponent's mons are weakened, this thing can sweep. Now, most likely with the team that I have, weakening my opponent will be pretty easy, and then this thing can come in later and sweep. So it's there if I need it, if necessary. If not, it's not. It is a win con, but it's also not completely necessary to win. The pivoting and the defensive options are more going to be where I'm going to win this game. Axew is more there to kind of clean up if need be in the end game. So that is about it for this video. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the team. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe and leave a like on the video if you like my content. Like I said, subscribe if you want to see more, so you can be notified as soon as I post. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.